producing is a whole beast. And I thought producing was if you find the funds, find your crew, that's it. You're done. You've produced. Boy, was I wrong. It is problem solving every second of every day, of every breath you take, and then it's endless. It never ends.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for spending your Sunday morning with me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored to be here with you and to meet you.
Yeah, no, likewise. I always like to, it's so funny to me when I meet someone, especially someone like you who has such a peculiar name and like a fascinating story as to how he got here. And I'm like, how have we not crossed paths before? And it always like, it makes me so excited because there's just so many awesome people out there. And for as long as I've been here, there's always new energy, new folks, new stories to inspire us. And I find that always very exciting. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing a bit of your story with me and the listeners.
Thank you so much. My name is Jihane Mrad Balaa. It's very peculiar. Bala is an added name. It's my husband's last name, and I feel that brought me a lot of luck to shift from my camera world to the directing and producing world. So I use it now when I'm doing interviews and whenever I'm directing.
In what ways did it bring you luck?
Um, I feel like I started out in camera my whole life and I didn't know. I thought I was going to grow in camera, but I was lost in it. I didn't quite want to be a first AC. I'm a second AC. I didn't want to be a first. I didn't want to operate. I was lost if I ever wanted to DP because I was always fascinated by scenes, but lighting wasn't really my thing. So it's not till I met my husband 20 years into working in camera that I felt like ta-da, just something clicked in my brain and a shift in wanting to direct.
It's so fascinating that it took someone who was sort of on the outside, at least of your experience, maybe he was in the industry, to show you that you wanted to do something that had kind of been there all along. You were so close to
Yes.
it, you know?
That's very, very true. No, he was not. He was a professional basketball player in Lebanon, where I'm from.
Mhm.
But then when he moved here, he was fascinated with what we do, and then he joined the business, and he does work in camera now.
Wow.
Um, yeah, just his presence. I mean, my family is also very, very supportive, and they've always called me a director and producer, even though I wasn't. But I think they didn't understand the categories. It's like my daughter is a producer in Hollywood. I'm like, I'm not. I'm in camera. It took it took them about 10 years to get used to understanding that I'm in camera. And then once I stopped being in camera, I'm like, I'm not in camera anymore. Stop saying
And
that.
they're like,
So
wait, what do you do then? Yeah. It's so funny because one of the reasons I started the podcast too is because I wanted to help my parents understand what producers do because it's such a fluid conversation. It's always changing. It's hard to define. But I think people are getting a little bit more attuned to it all now, you know?
I mean, I'm still confused, and I produced a feature, but there's so many hats in the producing world that they do so much, and I thought it's a one man job, and we will talk about that. And I thought I can wear that hat, and then I soon realized how challenging it is, and
Yeah.
and how many producers you really need to make a project happen. So
That's
yeah,
right. That's right. And I'll be curious to know what your
yes,
perception of a producer was before going into that experience and how that changed and how you would define it now. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I just want to do a little bit
yes.
of your background. You know, you start as an actor, but at what point do you even identify that this is like a career path, an industry? You find your way from Lebanon to the US through Miami. Like there's just so many steps, right? And as a fellow immigrant, like I know that journey is so much more arduous than like hopping on a plane and showing up in LA. So like give us a little bit of that context. What was happening in your life at that time?
Yes, I was born and raised in Lebanon until I was 19 years old. Um, I always was fascinated with with TV. In Lebanon, we got a lot of Egyptian like cinema before we got cable. And then they would play like a movie maybe a week. But before, like, it was Lebanese TV and Egyptian was the higher end. So even when the TV was muted, I used to watch and try to guess which country I'm watching. So I always knew like cinematography and camera and actors. just defined what kind of production it is growing up.
Mm.
My mom and my dad, they loved filming, so we always had a camera in the house. We did a lot of fun home videos, a lot of theater in the house, just for fun. So I knew that was the field I wanted to be in growing up, but I thought I was going to be an actress, of course. So when I went to college, I in Lebanon, I did a year. Before I transferred to Miami, I went to film school and theater, and and from there, my teacher recommended me to a TV show that was happening. I met with the producer, who was also the writer, and then she loved me. And then she wrote me a little role, and they loved me on that. And they wrote me a role in the next one. But I really had no talent. I think watching myself, I saw that I did not belong in front of the camera, and I was more fascinated with what's happening behind it. So this is when I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to be an actress. I want to focus on behind the scenes. And my whole family and I moved to Miami for just a better life. My dad got an opportunity and he took it, and we all moved. And I went to University of Miami, and I went to film school and theater. I continued in that. And then I took French literature because why not, as a
Why
backup
not?
plan? Because everyone tells you need a backup plan. You will never make it in the industry. I'm like, okay,
That's
I
true.
guess I'll be a French teacher if everything falls apart. And from that trajectory, either New York or LA were the two places you leave Miami to, and I chose LA
Yeah. What
just
was your time
randomly.
in Miami? So 2001, when you're in Miami, I was also there because I had I
Oh,
call my immigrant rite of passage through Miami. So I
yeah.
know what Miami in the early 2000s was like, but what was it like for you?
It was wonderful. It was a big culture shock, but it was amazing. I loved it. Everyone was so nice. It was fun. It was relaxed. It was definitely a different pace than what I know now, LA,
Yeah.
but it was similar to Lebanon. So in the pace wise, so I didn't feel the whole hustle and bustle till I moved to LA.
So then you move in '07. What are some of those early days like? Like, did you come here already with like a foot in the door, an opportunity, or how did you navigate getting that first thing that felt like, all right, I'm sort of on the path?
Yeah, not at all. Not a foot in at all. I came here knowing the two people. One I crashed on his couch. My best friend from college, Jake Birch, who now works. He's a producer at ABC. Um, so yeah, I crashed on his couch with my best friend Melissa, who is still my friend till today from college. And then the three of us were trying to make it. And I just started trying to meet people. And you meet people, and everybody makes empty promises, and it goes nowhere. I think it took me about 6 months. Um, in deep conversation with my parents, like, what am I doing here? Should I come back to Miami? This is very hard. And my parents were very supportive. They were financially supporting me because I was not making any money. They were paying my rent, they were paying my car. They just really believed in me and wanted me to make it. And it's not till I met a random guy at a Lebanese cafe who told me about the Asylum, which is a production company behind Sharknado. I'm not sure if you know
Oh
who they
yeah,
are.
I'm very familiar with Asylum. I did a couple of Asylum movies in my early
You did
days as an actor.
it.
Oh yeah. The Haunting of
See?
Whaley House still haunts me today.
Oh my I mean, that's a great start. This is a great place to
It's a great place. You get to really cut your teeth and, there's a lot to
you
be
do.
said about their model, but I do think they create a lot of opportunities for people to like get to work, get some credits, get some tape, especially back then as an actor that was like digital cameras
Yeah.
weren't even really around like they are now, so you really had to go work for free in exchange for credit and copy to like build
Yes.
build a reel for yourself. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. So camera was my thing. So I walked into the asylum, which was right next door to where I was living. And I said, listen, I'm willing to PA for free, but I really want to do camera. So if an opportunity arises, I'd love to do that. And they said, all right, do you start tomorrow? I mean, for a free PA for them was heavenly. So I worked for them for 2 days in the office. And then their first day of filming, the second AC left. So I said, I'm available. So I was still PAing and seconding on that first project with them.
Oh my god. Yep. The
But
things
it
we
was an
do.
opportunity, yes. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
and I met great people there. I met the DP that ended up DPing my first feature there. He brought me with him. I got my 100 days to join the union because of them.
Wow. So then by 2010, 2011, is that when you start getting really into some of these more notable credits, such as Bumblebee, American Horror Story, The Kominsky Method?
2009, 2010 was my first union project. It's because the same GP knew the AD. It really is a big important and for people to know that it's the hard work, but also who you know and who is wants to vouch for you. Because if you're not good, nobody's going to vouch for you. But if you work so hard, like the GP told an AD on Prison Break, that this girl wants to be in camera. She's a hard worker. She's getting her days. If you can bring her on to PA, because I was non-union, or camera PA, and meet the camera team. Back then, there was no specific camera PA in TV. I mean, till now there isn't, anyways.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so she brought me in as a PA, but stuck me with the camera team, and I met that team on Prison Break, who who was in the union, and I told them I have all my days, and they really liked me. They liked my personality. They saw, and that's very important too, because people want to be surrounded with nice
Yes.
people when you work.
Yeah. What do you think, if you could distill it into like three characteristics or things you were doing that made that DP take notice and then vouch for you on to the AD who then gave you that opportunity? Like, what are those three things?
To just be genuine, be a positive person. You notice on set there's a lot of negativity. There's especially people who have been doing it for a long time. So having a fresh face, you cannot come in and be, just don't have an attitude. Just be nice. I'm a smiley by nature. You don't have to force it. So it's good that it happens that I have that quality already existing. So I'm not faking it. But people like to be surrounded by people who are just bring joy to an all-nighter, and just to see someone smiling, it really adds a lot to the day.
Yeah.
Work hard and be proactive.
Yeah.
It's and get some rest too. It's okay to sit down. It's okay to take some breaks. Like, you don't want to kill yourself. You don't want to overdo it, because also being desperate is not a good quality,
Right.
and
Nobody likes that.
overkill. So no, so just like this, like I always say, be normal and pleasant. These are great qualities, very simple and good qualities.
Be normal and pleasant. I love that.
Pleasant, yeah.
That's the theme of this episode. Just be normal.
Normal and
What is normal?
pleasant.
I love that. And so, you've worked with so many directors now, and I think what's interesting, because I've mostly been in film, right? And in film and independent film,
Yes.
especially, your camera department is like, all departments are super crucial, but certainly they're an extension of the DP, who's usually there because of either a favor or an opportunity to the director. It's a very different energy, I think, than television. I've always wondered to build those relationships and that longevity beyond being a good person, being normal, all of the things we
Yeah.
talked about. Like, what do you think are some of those qualities that keeps a team together season after season on episodic television? And how would that differ from a film?
And being efficient and being good at your job is
Mm-hmm.
very important. I mean, in camera, we pride ourselves with being like clean, organized, and proactive, and supportive.
Yeah.
Like this series, you are working 8 to 9 months together. You're doing between 12 and 14 hours a day. So you do become a family. Like, you see them more than your family. So collaboration with departments,
It's super
being
important.
is very important.
Yeah.
To be asked back and to be working long, you just have to be really, really good at your job, because people are good. There's at least 50 other second ACs that can do exactly the same job I can do, if not even better. But you have to have good qualities. You have to want to be the person people want around.
Yeah. What were those early days like? Did you ever feel like there was perhaps additional challenges for you because you were a woman, especially in the camera department? Which, I mean, every department can be very much a boys' club, but I think the technical departments tend to gear more towards that. So I guess I'm curious, like, how maybe that was like, if you did feel that, and now how you've seen it change.
I mean, it was a boys' club when I joined, but and then in my early days, I was getting the calls because I am a woman and they needed the diversity. So at first, I wasn't sure how to feel about it, but then I
Mm,
thought about it, that it is an opportunity that maybe I wouldn't have gotten if things were not that way. So embrace it, and then prove yourself that the next time you're asked back, it's not just because I'm a girl, it's actually because I am good. And that was my motto, like, see where the opportunity is and take advantage of it. It's okay if this is why. I mean, there's always a why of someone getting hired, either because back then I was a girl, that was a plus. Because they needed it. It was
Hmm.
when I came in, it was about that shift, and like, well, we need a girl on the crew. So I was and then that upset a lot of men in the industry that
Hmm.
probably felt more qualified, and maybe they were at the time. It's never the best person for the job. Someone told me that is maybe gets hired for the job. There's always like many reasons why.
Yeah.
Otherwise, robots would be doing I mean, our job if you need someone perfect. But yeah, so the challenges were that I needed to prove myself that I don't want to be a must hire because I'm a female. Um, I just want to be asked because I'm good.
I think there's a little bit of a cost to the process, right? That does unfortunately impact the folks that have been historically employed in these areas, which are predominantly men. And it is unfortunate that sometimes, there's only so many roles to fill within a team, within a show. And so only one person can get that job. And sometimes it does come at the expense of someone. But like the alt reality to that narrative is that, well, like if women had been historically getting the same opportunities, it wouldn't be an upsetting thing for somebody to quote unquote lose a job to someone that is maybe a diversity hire in that moment
Correct.
when it's like, well, if they had been given the same advantage from the jump, you guys would just be equals going out for the same job. Right. And it's
Correct.
an unfortunate thing that for us to find balance, the pendulum does have to swing sometimes a little more in one direction until we can kind of go, this is what a set can and should feel like and be representative, not just from a gender parity perspective, but like of the world, and how important that is. And as a producer with a lot of hiring power, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I remember in 2016, we were doing a feature and we were very much like, we're not saying we must hire women, but you have to at least interview women for these positions. And there was so much pushback in terms of like, well, we don't even know any women for this department. And then I had to go, well, let me pull a bunch of resumes. And now you'll know at least 10 women that you can call and interview and bring in for the opportunity, So I think sometimes our industry moves so fast and it is about who you know and it is about people that you like being on set with. And we tend to surround ourselves with people that look like us. So it's not necessarily like a finger pointing. I don't think it's like deliberate necessarily. It's the opposite. It's that it's been so normalized that they don't even see it. I was able to see that change myself, in my own career, slowly but surely, to the point where you don't have to keep asking when someone comes to you with like, hey, here's my department, here are the people I want to hire. There's already women on that list.
Yes, well said.
Thank you. Just my mini like
Yes.
Oprah soapbox moment. Were there any like important early figures early in your career that taught you some of these important lessons that help you navigate like the politics of working on set, how to like really get your foot in the door and stay in the door, and that just gave you the confidence to be like, no, like I'm here, I belong here, and I'm gonna stay here.
I really did learn a lot from everybody, everyone I met in my career, like subconsciously or consciously. I really wanted to take something from, especially someone who's been in the business for a long time. And even if it was something that I didn't want to do, I learned from that. Like, never be like this person, never behave that way. So it wasn't just always the things I wanted to do in life, it was things I didn't want to do. And that was in directing mainly. I did TV. Every episode is directed by a different director. So
Hmm.
I met over maybe 50 directors in my life, and those were the most I've learned from. And especially what I never wanted to do, and what makes a crew completely, like you lose your crew by doing this and doing that. So these are the
Hmm.
mental notes, or even written notes, by just watching a lot of people do what they're not supposed to do. And that was a big learning experience for me, because the ones who do it so well make it look so easy that you just
Yeah.
don't even know what happened. You're like,
What are
oh,
some
this
of
is
those
easy.
things? What are some of those things that you shouldn't do that does make your crew, lose
Uh,
respect and lose that team feeling?
First of all, the energy you bring on set. So if you come in as a director and you look lost and you don't have the confidence, everybody can sense it and everybody thinks they can do the job instead of you. So you immediately lose respect.
Mm-hmm.
And then when things drag for no reason, the no good mornings and no thank yous make a big deal. Like a thank you for being here goes a long way. And a very silly one that I learned, but I do feel like it really pays off. Don't do 15 takes of a master on a wide when you don't see anyone. What by when you go by you're on take 12, you lose the crew. Everybody's like, why again? We're gonna move in. So people just start to lose hope in you. It's very simple. Unless
Yeah.
that is the only shot you're shooting. It's a wonder, it's that master you need to perfect it and you're not doing coverage, then sure.
Yeah. That's good notes, good feedback. So shifting gears, then how do
Yes.
you start to go, all right, I have this interest. You mentioned that your husband was a person that kind of spotlighted directing in a way that perhaps you hadn't seen it before. What are the steps you take to get on your path as a director?
I was working in the Ryan Murphy world. I was on American Horror Story, and then I saw the Half Initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Every episode a different shadow, and I got to meet them. And I said, "This is a great opportunity for someone who really wants to direct." So I went and shot a short, and I submitted it, and it was early on in the Ryan Murphy world. So there weren't. I'm not sure if there were, but I wasn't up against so many filmmakers back then, and I think that was an advantage because looking back at that short, it wasn't the best. But because I had a lot of experience in the business already, because they look at many things, and I had a great letter of recommendation from directors, from GPs, they took a chance on me. They accepted me in that program,
Nice.
and I shadowed on American Horror Story. By then, I had moved to 911, but I shadowed on American Horror Story. And then I had a conversation with someone like, what is the next step for me? Because this program doesn't guarantee you an episode. Some other programs, like I think in the NBC one, they do, but the Ryan Murphy one doesn't. But it's a great opportunity to sit with a director and see everything they do from prep till the editing. It's a beautiful program. I mean, like Ryan Murphy did wonderful and gave us such a great opportunity. Again, that's another window that you just you go for. Otherwise, how else am I going? Who's going to take a chance on a camera
Right.
assistant to give her an
Right.
episode? That just will never happen. Then they said, Jihane, you have to do something. You have to have a feature, or you have to do something more to be even considered. And I said, all right. We're all into sports. My sister's husband is an agent, so he represented a basketball player who was in the NBA. So we were hanging out, having coffee with my husband, and I told him I'm really looking for my next project to direct. And he said, oh, I really want to produce a project. And I said, all right, should we team up and do something together?
Yeah. Yeah.
And his name is Thanasis Antetokounmpo, and he was really behind the first feature. So we spent a whole year conversation. What is the project we want to do? And we decided on a genre. We wanted to do murder mystery because these are fun. They have crime, they have comedy, sense of humor, and then you can never start a murder mystery and not finish it. At least we'll know people will commit because I want to know who's the killer. So that was but then we moved on, like, where are we going to find the script? And I was talking with a friend of mine who was a filmmaker. And then he said, well, why don't you try InkTip? And I said, what's
Mhm.
InkTip? And he said, InkTip is this platform where if you are a series producer, someone who really wants to produce something and is looking for a script, you can go there. And it's a platform you write what you're looking for, the genre, even subgenre. You can actually go and specifically put everything you're looking for in a feature, and it filters out their database because they represent writers. Like they have all these writers there, and they just send you these log lines. And I'm like, you're kidding. So he's like, yeah, but you need a recommendation. They just don't accept everyone. So he put in a good word for me and told them she's serious. She has funding. She wants to do this. And then I spoke with InkTip, and they accepted me. This was a magic thing for me. This was a magical place. And then I got about 100 log lines.
Wow.
I read them all, and I picked about 12 scripts that I really liked. And then I read them, and I got to Twisted Vines. And then And then they really were so supportive throughout the entire all the phases.
Process. Hmm.
And yeah, the whole process. And then I teamed up with a writer, and then we did some revisions, and I brought in another writer friend of mine from Lebanon. She helped with the rewrites to bring a different perspective, a female perspective, because it was a very female driven also, the story. And that's how Twisted Vines came
Came
about.
to be. I want to read the log line here just for the folks listening can have a little more context. It says,
Yes.
a luxurious family wedding at a California vineyard estate turns deadly when a body is discovered. As the clues are pieced together and secrets are revealed, everyone is a suspect, from the groom's celebrity mother and the bride's deceitful father to the sommelier with an impeccable nose and the questionable pastor. So a really fun like world to play in, I'm sure, and smart because it is pretty contained. Everything takes place at the vineyard, at the house, right? So I always
Yes.
talk about on the show of like so many things of this budget range, which I'm assuming is sub $1 million, right? Like, especially when you're getting your foot in, you're sort of, working your muscles as a producer, as a writer, as a director. It's so important to write something and then create and produce something that is in one location. And sometimes that faults to like just a house or just an apartment or some space visually that we've seen a ton. But I always say, if you have access to a space that's going to bring so much production value to your project, that is like such a huge value add to the process that I always recommend it, whether you write with that in mind or you find a project that can be set in one location that, again, is just going to bring up the production value of what you're doing. I think it's a really smart way to go about it on the independent film side, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and yep, that's what happened. The vineyard was our place. Brandy Roderick, she actually was the one who helped us get the winery, and she placed summer in
Yeah. And you
the
guys
and
shot
then
in Temecula. So
we
thank
shot
you
in
for shooting in
Temecula.
Los Angeles.
Yes, we
Or
did.
in Southern California, rather. I don't know if Temecula technically is LA, but so then let's talk about this. You go into this now, you've done a short, but this is like your first feature. You directed it, you obviously had shaped the script, and then you produced it. So, what were your impressions of what a producer was or did before this process? And how did the process change that for you?
Oh boy, crash course. Little did I know that producing is a whole beast, and I thought producing was if you find the funds and then find your crew, that's it. You're done. You've produced. Boy, was I wrong. It is problem solving every second of every day, of every breath you take, and then it's endless. It never ends. Once we started production every day, you have a zillion problem. Day one, our sound mixer got sick. He had an allergic reaction to the barrels in the winery. And then he went down. It was COVID time, so he was immediately escorted off the set. 10 pages, no sound. Um, I'm a director, so I have to creatively be there and then work with 12 cast members to continue the day. But as a producer, I also have to find another sound person, figure out what's the solution. Are we still filming with no sound? And then like you have to stay calm. First of all, it's very easy to panic, and but you can't. You're not allowed to, because if you panic, everyone. And that's a lesson I have learned being in camera, watching other directors. So I took it also as a director producer, wearing those two hats, that I can't panic. I have to be like, it's fine, everything's okay, we'll figure it out, we'll shoot with no sound, we can ADR later, which is a hassle to do 10 pages of ADR. And then we'll just find another person. So while they're lighting, I'm on the phone, Brandy's helping me, the whole crew's jumping to help. Who do they know who's available to come down to Temecula and do sound the next day? Also, we're worried we want the test result for the sound mixer. If he has COVID,
Right.
we're being shut down day one of filming.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
very stressful. That's day one of filming. So, and it's my first directing job. So I really
Yeah.
want to be there mentally, have, as they say, hold space for and then take it all in and just be, but it's impossible. And once the project is finished, you think you're done as a producer. Oh no, that's when this work starts. Then you have to, because I really was a one-man show. Then I had to figure out, okay, well, now the picture is locked. What do we do next? So people are like, well, take it to AFM. What is AFM? I really came from not knowing anything because I've
Yeah.
never done this before.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
researching. I mean, thankfully, at this point in my career, I knew enough people even in the TV world who really wanted to branch out in the and have done indies. And these are people I had never had conversation with about this before. And then, boy, did I lean on all of them. We're like, oh, what did you do? Oh, film festival. Why don't you call the festival doctor? Who's the festival doctor? What does she do? Well, she watches your project and then she tells you which festivals you should submit in. That's a thing. I didn't know. Like, you just learn a lot. So you want to put it in the festivals and you want to try to sell it. And I want my producer Thanasis to be happy. I want him to get his money back. I want the movie to be, viewed by everybody. So that's
Yeah.
producing is doing everything.
Is doing everything. How did you go about raising the financing, and were you able to raise it with one person that kind of came in? Do you feel comfortable sharing sort of the budget range that this was?
I sure do. It was Thanasis. That's what he
Okay.
meant when he wanted to do the movie. He said, "I will fund it." And then back then, I was supposed to do a feature, and then the budget was extremely, extremely low. I mean, I am I freely share. It was in the 200, not my project, but the project I was going to direct 200,000. But I was ready to do anything for any money to have a feature. I was going to make it work. Um, but then COVID hit and it didn't happen. So part of my conversation, he said, "You can do a movie for this low." And I said, "Yes, but it would be better if you can do it for more, if like so you can get better cast, you can get a name actor which can anchor. We got Vivica Fox and we got Michael Paré and even Brandy and Nikki, we got and John Burdell. We got good names that can anchor the project." So I'm like, the more money, the better position that we be. The more money, the more days we can shoot. So yeah, so he's like, okay, so he funded the whole thing. He
Nice.
really did. Yes. And we shot it in 10 days, 10-hour days. So I had prepped
Nice.
everything. It was good to be coming from camera because I knew exactly what I wanted visually. So I was very prepared with blocking. So we moved quick. So that part was lovely. But the producing part, woof.
The producing part. So would you do it again now that you're on the other side of it?
Back then I said no. And never again was a sentence I said for a whole year after I was done with the movie. I'm never again doing that. I'm never again. I'm a director for hire only. Director for hire only. But now that it's been a couple of years and now that I look back and I feel like I've learned a lot, I would 100% do it again. But I need the support. I need to have
Yeah.
I need to have a production company behind me. I need to be surrounded by people who know what they're doing.
So on this process, it was just you producing? Did you have anyone else helping you? It was just you.
I mean, Vivica Fox. I mean, there are producer credits for different, like Vivica Fox um, came in as a producer too. It was part of the deal to having her. Brandy Roderick was a producer because she really was a lot of help. On how do you say, like you're on the battlefield.
Yeah, in production. Like, so you had
In
somebody
production,
helping
she was
oversee
there.
production. Okay. I was going to say, because
We
that is hugely important.
Yes, we had UPM Leah or line producer Leah Welsh. It was her first project too. So we were both trying to figure out as we go, and she was great with the paperwork. We worked for 6 months after the project just to gather all the
That's right.
paperwork and to
That's
find the
right.
contracts and to find things
Yeah.
just for distribution as well.
And I think that this is a perfect moment to reflect and remind listeners who are looking for producers, filmmakers, directors, more folks perhaps that are on the, sort of creative lanes, why it is so hard to find producers on the independent side who are down to go on a journey with you for like less than $1 million budget, because those people, if they're getting paid much, it's usually whatever's in that production window is their fee, but they're working months before you ever get to rolling cameras the first day, and months, if not years, sometimes after that film is done. Because when you've got it in the can, when you've locked picture, there's so much more work ahead of you. Who is running point on that work? And if you're
Mhm.
expecting that to be your producer, are you compensating them for that? Like, what is the trade-off? Because for some people in the early days of their career, a credit means a lot. But after that first credit, you can't do that forever. You can't do that for the rest of your life. It's certainly not for like a flat 20K or whatever you would get on something like that. So I encourage, folks listening who are constantly like, I need a producer and I just need this, like to really think about the cost that there is to someone's livelihood to take on and shoulder the burden of every single tiny nook and cranny aspect of getting a film made. And it isn't, just to reiterate, finding the money, finding the crew, logistical problem solving on the shoot days. It's
Mm-hmm.
everything before and after, the lifeline of that project. So who is going to be down to be on that journey with you if you're a creative, and what opportunity are you presenting to them? And I think that's why, like, I am doing this for so long, but I've encountered so many bitter, cynical, frustrated producers because they have many stories of putting in that kind of energy into someone's first project, right? And then when they go on to do the next thing, where now they have like a real budget, they don't bring their producers along with them. And look, sometimes I get it. Like, it's not a creative match. Like, you work together, it's not a fit. Like, these things happen. But think about the value of what this partnership means to you as you're growing in your career, because that's how you build these long-lasting professional and personal friendships and relationships with folks that you can rise together. And at this stage, like, a lot of people are looking for that. And that is one way that they'll really set themselves up for success, I think.
That's very true. Very, very, very true. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So back to your project. How long from like you finding the script and identifying that Twisted Vines was you're going to be your directorial debut, until you kind of get it up on its feet?
Uh, it would not long because we had a window. I was in between seasons of 911. Thanasis had that window too. He said, "This is the time. Like, I want to make this movie because I want to. If this doesn't go, I want to invest this somewhere else." And so I really knew it was June was the month.
Mm-hmm.
We got the script, I believe, in January, and then we were working on all the rewrites. By March is when we started, like we had it in good shape and we were ready to start finding people. May is when we found Brandy, a month before the shoot. And so we had me and the DP literally after we scouted, maybe a week or two before we were filming, sat down and reshaped, because then my friend, the writer, was unavailable, and my second writer was in labor. So at the time difference, so me and our DP sat and rewrote the entire script to make it fit the location. And then we went to Temecula and did it in 10 days.
You shot the whole movie in 10 days.
10 days,
How many
10-hour
pages?
days.
How many 10-hour days? How many pages a day?
We were doing about 10 pages a day.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
a pretty
yeah.
aggressive pace.
It was very aggressive.
What were some of the growing pains, I guess, that you faced in that transition to directing?
I wish I had, of course, that always any director would say that more time, more time, more time, more time is to do more, to do more coverage, to be more creative. Because at this point, my main goal is to tell the story the way it should be told, and to so people are not confused. It's a murder mystery. I want it to feel the suspense. I want you to watch and suspect everyone. So it felt too quick, if that makes sense. I'm very proud of what I have, and I feel like the quick pace of it also makes it go faster. And in the beginning, you do get to meet them, so you do get to suspect them. I'm talking story wise as a director. It is great, but yes, watching it again now after stepping away from it, I wish I had more time to do more and just to add more scenes, just to let it just grow and breathe, then breathe more.
What was it like working with the other departments? Because obviously you're super well versed in camera, but did you have was there any surprises, I guess, around having to work with the other departments?
I'm very specific to a point of I don't want to say control freak, because then you realize that when you communicate things very well and people receive them well, then magic happens. It was easy because I knew exactly what I wanted. And people were happy to be there. People were enjoying the winery, so it was a good working environment. The cast was happy to be there. So minus all the troubles I was having there, I was trying to hide as a producer when my whole world was falling apart. As a director, with the environment, with the collaborations, we had a great time.
Yeah. What was it like then? Some years later, you end up going back to 911 as a director. You get to direct episode 13 of season 6 and 23. So I guess 2 years after you did your first feature, right? Because you said that was 21.
Yes.
What was
Yes.
that experience like coming back to, coming to home, essentially a show where you've known everyone, getting to direct, and then your takeaways directing episodic television versus the feature?
Very different to doing this. It was when I got the opportunity to direct on 911. It felt surreal.
Yeah.
Um, it really felt surreal. And being supported, the producer there made a joke. He said, "Jihan, think big. It's okay. You can think big," which I'll never forget. Because we were looking for the opening scene was in a gym, and so we were. I was just looking for a gym. He's like, "No, no, you can think big." So we ended finding a space in downtown LA that has all these LEDs that we turned it into a cycle, so it wasn't a real place. But so I didn't really have to go find a cycling place that had 5 chairs. He's like, "Think big. Tell us what you want, and then we'll see what we can and can't make happen."
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
that was lovely, and collaborating with peers of mine that I had worked alongside with, but now I'm coming in as a director, and everybody was rooting for me from cast to crew. So you see this attitude, and it's so important. Being surrounded by positive people, it really
Yeah.
helps make you feel at ease and coming in with confidence. And oh, it was such a beautiful experience.
Yeah. Every single experience you get to have just helps you get a little bit better every day in what you're doing and what you're seeing and how you're relating and what you're learning, because it is an apprenticeship business, and you have to just kind of be in it to really absorb it, until you get the opportunity to like step up and then do it yourself. So
Yes. Absolutely. And it's interesting when you are in that position, if you are producing, directing, you are the person in charge of the funding. So you are saying no to yourself. So you're limiting yourself creatively. Like I would love to have a third camera today, but I know I can't afford it. So I have to go without it. When you're just directing, there's else you can try to push back. And then especially on TV, you might go maybe over budget on this one, but they know how to pull it from another day or another episode to make it
yeah,
happen for you. So that's a whole different beast where you can do pushbacks when you're doing both on an independent feature. You have to control everything because you can't go over budget. You know the funds you have. Where are you going to get
yeah,
the money if you can't
exactly.
fix it later? That's it. That's all you have. So if you
Yeah,
can, then
totally.
you won't have posts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, as we wrap up, my last question is, I guess I'm curious if you walked away from both of these directing experiences with any different perspectives about other departments, not just camera, but now that you've gotten to direct and produce, did it change how you see the ecosystem of production?
Yes, I mean, I really anyone who is in the film business from PA to executive, I respect every single person who's doing any job. And I tell everyone, you're like anyone I meet, you should be so proud of yourself because it's very challenging. It's time consuming, it's physically consuming, and every brain cell so of you is working. I from being just like a part of the machine doing a specific job in camera to stepping to directing to stepping to producing, you really do get to appreciate every single part, and you
Mm-hmm.
cannot do it without anyone. And if you can't afford any position, you feel it, you miss it, you're hurting without it.
Yeah.
So everyone exists because they have to exist and they have to be part of a project to make it. So every project you think is wonderful is because it's a whole team. Yes, you might see a big name as an anchor, whether it's a director or a lead or someone who's anchoring it, but without the whole machine, it will fall apart.
Yeah. I remember my early days on set when I was still shadowing a lot of producers and still, working in the production office and getting my bearings. There would be like once in a while that producer that came to set, and just showed up in a fancy car and just sat at monitor and had their coffee and was just like on their phone the whole time. And there would be folks on set like murmuring about that, of just like, oh, they just get to roll up and they're not even doing any work. And I was always flabbergasted by that, because that could be true. Frankly, it's Hollywood. That could absolutely be true. You don't know who that person is, but it could also be that person has worked their ass off for 3 years to get this movie to the point where now you have a job for these 3 months
Yes.
to get it made. And you don't know like the quote unquote value of a person that's sitting at monitor who exhibits the archetypes of what we think producers are, right? Showing up in a fancy car or not,
Yes.
sitting at monitor, drinking their coffee, just hanging out, and then leaving.
It is so easy to jump into conclusion and dismiss
That's right.
people. And then what you see in the split of a second, you just think you can just sum up who they
Yes.
are. But it's
Yes.
absolutely so untrue. They
Yeah.
even working, because we always say, oh, do they hate us? Do they not want? But then when you actually are directing, and I'm sitting with the line producer on 911 when he's looking at the schedule on the Thursday, and this actor is not available, this actor's traveling, we don't have, the set is not ready, what are we shooting that day? But on set, you don't know that. You're wondering, like, why they haven't told us what we're not shooting. Is it a secret? So you just don't understand. You're so easy to judge. Nobody wants to make anyone's life miserable,
Or
and
harder than it needs to be.
or harder than it needs to be.
Everyone would prefer the easiest,
Everybody
like
has all
to
the
have answers
information,
ahead
and
of time.
yes,
Yeah, for sure. Yes, yes. I think it's
yes,
compassion. My hope and dream that will never come true, I don't think, unfortunately, is I wish there was a mandated 3-month period of time that you have to
yes,
accrue a certain amount of PA days on any kind of set just to really understand
and
the
yes,
ecosystem of production, because that's what we all work for, right? Like it's a very compressed period of time where everything happens. Like you spend years in development getting it there, and then all of the stuff on the back end to get it out to audiences to market it. But like that moment in time is so magical and so precious. And I have experienced it throughout my career when folks don't really understand how, like, you not getting someone a piece of information, the domino effect that has on like hundreds of people who are waiting for that information. Like, we'll see. Maybe someone
I
listening can
know.
find a
That's
solve for that.
let's go back to InkTip. InkTip seems to have the right solutions
Yeah,
for everything.
InkTip, you
Maybe they
guys
will
figure
do
it out.
that. They
They
have to
should do
figure
it.
it out because they already have that their platform is really something I never thought I would see in my career. I
Yeah.
mean, who knew you can go and punch in what you want? And this is very advanced. Like for me, this is something, and I mean, I share it with everyone. Just recently, I vouched for a couple of director friends who really want to do a project, and then InkTip accepted them, so I was very happy. Maybe they will do a platform
Yeah.
where you want
Hopefully.
to work in the film business, you have to go be a PA. We will
Yeah.
help set it up.
I mean, listen, I would love that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It's such a treat to have you on. It's all about sharing a little bit of your journey and a ton of your wisdom with me and the listeners. And I know so many folks start in one lane and eventually want to shift into directing. And there's so many fascinating stories of how folks find themselves getting on that path. And so I think yours is one of those really interesting stories. So thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much for having me. This was a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you. It was so lovely chatting with you, and I hope we can do it again.
Yeah, likewise, likewise.